So where did we stop? Somebody just to remind us of where we stopped. Where did we stop, Natalie, in our last class? Did we talk about revenue allocation, budget and spending, number 5? Did we talk about budget and spending? Did you talk about budget estimates and annual appropriation? Yes. Supplementary appropriation. We did not talk about budget and estimates. So we can start on that, budget and estimates. So we start with what's called the budget estimates and annual appropriation. So we have it as budget, estimates, and what's called the annual, and we call it appropriation, bill. So budget, estimates, and what you call the annual appropriation bill. So we basically say that on the budget estimate, we can start on that, budget estimates. On the budget estimates, Mwalimu basically said that budget estimates are normally prepared 2 months before the end of the financial year. So these are basically prepared 2 months. 2 months before what we call the end of what we call the financial, before the end of the financial year. So when you talk about estimates for the budget, they're normally prepared, we say, before the end of the financial year. That basically means, when do we prepare these estimates? When do we prepare this estimate? By 2 months, that should be about 30th altogether, 30th of April altogether, each financial year. Just a minute as I sorry for that interruption. So when you talk about the budget estimates, Mwalimu says that the budget estimates are basically prepared 2 months before the end of the financial year. And that basically implies that the Cabinet Secretary of Finance basically prepares these estimates. That is about 30th of April, are we together? And submit to the Parliament altogether. Cabinet Secretary 2 months before, and the Cabinet Secretary will say submits what we call the estimates of what we call the revenue and what we call and expenditure. Estimates of the revenue and expenditure to the Parliament. And submit estimates of revenue and expenditure to the Parliament. So these are for the next financial year. The word is for the next financial year. So we have it for the next financial year. We'll call it for the next financial year. We say for the next financial year, So if you have the financial year, for example, let's say 2026-25, when should it be presented? For the 2026-27, when should this estimate be presented to the Parliament? When should these estimates be presented to the Parliament? Let's say for the finance bill, that is 2026-27, when should it be presented to that should be April of 2026. Then we have what we call appropriation bill. We did say that the appropriation, when you talk about appropriation bill, So we say that the appropriation bill basically comes into appropriation bill basically. Appropriation bill is to authorize expenditure. This is to authorize, we say authorize what we call the expenditure. The word is the expenditure from what we call from the consolidated fund. From the consolidated fund. So the function of an appropriation bill is basically to authorize what we call expenditure, and you're saying that to authorize expenditure from the consolidated fund altogether. So when you hear the word appropriation bill, that is just to authorize what we call expenditure from the consolidated fund. So then we move to expenditure before the budget is passed. We'll talk about expenditure before the budget is passed. Expenditure before what we call the budget is basically expanded, is passed. How do you go about expenditure before the budget is passed? How do you go about the expenditure before the budget is passed? So if appropriation bill is delayed, an appropriation bill, we say that is to authorize expenditure from what we call from the consolidated fund. So if we have if we have appropriation bill delayed or National Assembly, if we have the appropriation bill delayed, authorization of expenditure from the consolidated fund, what happens to the government? What happens? So we say national government, if appropriation bill the word is delayed, if the appropriation bill is basically delayed, if the appropriation bill is delayed, so we basically understand the National Assembly, the word is National Assembly, may nevertheless, National Assembly may nevertheless, National Assembly, we say may nevertheless, the word is authorize, what they call the withdrawal. National Assembly may nevertheless authorize the withdrawal of money, and you say from the consolidated fund. So National Assembly may nevertheless authorize what you call withdrawal from the consolidated fund, if the money service what's called national government, if the money, we say services national government. But look up, here is a contrast. If the money, we say services the National Assembly, here is a contrast. Are we together? So the contrast is that this money should not exceed, are we together? If the money basically service the national government until the delay is resolved, are we together? So the key word is that it should not exceed 50%. It should not exceed, the word is exceed, what you have as 50% of what you call of the estimate. It should not basically exceed what you call the 50% of the estimate. So that money should not basically exceed what you call 50% of what you call the estimate altogether. So if what you call the appropriation bill is delayed, meaning expenditure is not authorized, how does the government basically operate? So basically saying that the National Assembly can basically authorize withdrawal of money from the consolidated fund for the government service until the delay is basically resolved. But however, the contrast is that amount should not exceed 50% of the estimate. Together, team, it should not exceed 50% of what we call the estimate. Then we talk about the supplementary. Supplementary, we have what we call supplementary appropriation. So the first thing is to understand what is a supplementary appropriation. When you say supplementary appropriation, so basically when you say supplementary appropriation, we're basically saying that the national government may spend money not appropriated. Are we together? Not appropriated. The government may basically spend money that is not appropriated. We say that the government may spend money that is not appropriated if the money is appropriated is insufficient. So the government can spend what we call money that is not, the word is appropriated, that is not appropriated. If the money appropriated, we say is insufficient. If the money that was allocated is insufficient altogether. If the money appropriated is not enough, are we together? Or for which no money has been, or for expenditure for which no money has been appropriated, or for what we call for expenditure for which we say no money, we say has been appropriated. Or for expenditure, we say that for which no money has been appropriated. Together, team. And how do they go? You see, we can have needs that arise, and you look at the budget and you realize the budget that was not captured in the budget. So we're saying that the government can basically go ahead and spend for money that was not basically appropriated, for money that was basically not appropriated. Together, team. Yes, for money that was not appropriated. Together. So how do you go about the approval for supplementary? Are we together? Approval for supplementary. So the key thing is approval. What to talk about approval for what we call for supplementary budget. Approval for what we call the supplementary budget. Approval for what we call the supplementary budget. So how do you go for approval? So how should we go for the approval? So you want to put expenditure that was not basically put in place altogether. How do you go about? We call it a supplementary budget. It was not catered for in the budget. Are we together? Or a need as a reason, but this need was not basically catered for in the budget. This is how the government basically goes about this. This is how the government will say basically goes together. So the government, number one, sought what we call approval. Sought what we call approval. The government will sought approval from what we call from the parliament. So where do they get the approval? We say number one, understand at the back of your mind that the government will basically sought approval from the parliament together. Within 2 months after the first withdrawal. Within 2 months, we say within, we'll call it within 2 months. And you say after the first withdrawal. Within 2 months after the first withdrawal. So the government sought approval within 2 months after the first withdrawal. Are we together? After the first withdrawal. So where do you get the approval? You get the approval from what they call from the parliament. Are we together, team? We respond with a yes. We get approval for that supplementary budget, a budget that was not cut for. Are we together? So where do you get approval? Is from the parliament. Are we together? 2 months after the first withdrawal, drawn together. So we need to understand that appropriation bill will be tabled to basically approve what you call the supplementary withdrawal. So we say that appropriation bill will basically be tabled to do what? To approve what you call the supplementary withdrawal. So there's a key thing on the maximum withdrawal. When it comes to supplementary budget, there's what called the maximum withdrawal. This is what you call the maximum withdrawal. There's what you call the maximum withdrawal. Are we together, team? If we are together, we respond with a yes. There's what you call the maximum withdrawal. So the maximum withdrawal, as envisioned in article, we have it as article, as envisioned in Article 223, should not exceed, we say should not exceed what we call 10% of the sum appropriated, should not exceed 10% of the sum, we call it appropriated, 10% of the sum appropriated, should not exceed 10% of the sum appropriated for that financial year, for that financial year. So for this supplementary budget, the key is that it should not basically exceed 10%, what we call 10% of the sum appropriated for the financial year. Tafadhali tubonyeze yes kama tuko pamoja. Tubonyeze yes. If you're together, we respond with a yes. Perfect. So then we go to part 6, which is control of what we call public money. We call it 6, that is on control of what we call public money. Control of what we call the public money. Control of the public money. So we have what's called the financial control. What we call financial control. What we call the financial control. That is the control of the public money. That is what we call the control. So whenever we talk about control of what we call the public money, this is basically, whenever we talk about control of public money, this is basically established by Article 225. Are we together? This is established by what we call article. We have it as Article 225. This is basically established by Article 225. Article 225, established by Article 225 right together. So we need to understand that expenditure, control, and transparency are we together. Article 225, are we together? Lay down responsibility in regards to control of what we call public money, in regards to control of public money. So we need to understand that under expenditure control and transparency, are we together? Is implemented by legislation. Are we together? So under such legislation, we need to understand that the cabinet secretary may stop. Under this, we need to understand that the cabinet secretary, we say, may stop. So the cabinet secretary may basically stop. The cabinet secretary, we understand that may stop. The cabinet secretary may stop. Transfer money to state organs may stop. Transfer of what we call of state money to may stop what we call transfer of the state money to what we call to state organs, and say in case of what we call of material breaches, where there is material breaches. So in case of what we call material breaches, that expenditure transfer, we just say that cabinet secretary will basically can stop transfer money to state organ if there's what you call material breaches of together, as provided by the legislation, as provided by what's called by the legislation together. So the government the cabinet secretary of finance can basically stop money from going to a state organ. Let's say, for example, one of the ministry, if there is what you call material breaches, as provided in the legislation, which cannot. So very key, we need to understand that the stoppage has to be approved. So this stoppage has to be approved by what? By the parliament. The stoppage to state organ, we're basically saying that has to be approved by the parliament. So if they've got to stop the money, then there has to be approval from what? From the parliament. But also very key, you need to understand that the county cannot be stopped in excess of 50. County funds cannot be stopped as an NB. County funds, when some cannot be stopped, the word is stopped, and you say in excess of 50%. So county fund can basically not be stopped in excess of 50%. So for the county funds, we're saying cannot be stopped in excess of 50%. Are we together? Cannot be stopped in excess of 50%. Together. In excess of 50%. Cannot be stopped in excess of 50%. So then I talk about briefly accounts, and what's called audit of what they call public entities. Who audit public entity? Who audits public entity? Who audits what they call the public entity? KRA. Sure. KRA is the one that AG, Office of the Attorney General, or Auditor, Office of the Auditor General. Yes, Office of the Auditor General. That is the one that carries out audit together. So in every state organ, there should be maintenance of what we called accounting records together. Then auditing of those public entity by the Auditor General. By the Auditor General, are we together? By the Auditor General should be done. Are we together? Both counties. So Auditor General is basically responsible for auditing government and public entity. So we understand that there is need for keeping financial record, but we understand that Auditor General, we say, is responsible. We call it for auditing what we call the public entities. So who audits the public entity? It is the Auditor General. Is the point at home? Is the point at home? So the person in charge of what you call auditing of public entity is the Auditor General. Tafadhali nipatie yes. Tafadhali nipatie yes. Nipatie yes. So Auditor General will audit accounts of the states altogether. Are we together? Then you have procurement of public goods and services under financial control. Procurement of what we call public goods and what we call the services. So how do we basically go about what we call procurement of public goods and services? How do we basically go about procurement of public goods and services? How does the government basically carry out procurement of public goods and services? How does the government basically carry on procurement of public goods and services. As part of financial control, how do they? So at the back of our mind, we need to understand that public entity contracts for goods and services, are we together, must be equitable, transparent, and cost efficient altogether. So we need to understand that under procurement, that the procurements that are being done should be equitable, should be transparent, and you say they should be competitive and cost effective. And what to call the cost effective. Are we together? So when you read the Procurement Act and the disposal, are we together? Are we together? So this is basically envisioned in Procurement Acts, procurement, and what's called the Disposal Acts. Together, Procurement and the Disposal Act basically tell us how procurement should be done. But you're saying that the procurement, as part of financial control, it should be equitable, it should be transparent, but at the same time, it should be cost effective. Then the last part, that is 7. And the last part, we call it 7. We call it 7. We call it 7. So on 7, we talk about financial officers and institutions. 7 is basically on financial officers, and what's called institutions. Financial officers and institutions. Financial officers and institutions together. That is part 7, financial officers and institution. So we start with the first financial officer. We have it as control of the budget. Controller of what we call of the budget. So the first financial officer, we call them controller of what we call of budget. Are we together? So what does that, what is the work of a control of the budget? Before we talk at length, what is the work of the control of the budget? So the control of the budget, in essence, they oversee, they basically oversee what they call implementation of what they call the budget, and say at both national and what's called in the county government. So the role of a controller budget is basically to oversee what they call implementation of the budget, that is at both national and county level together. That's the role of a control of the budget. Together, team, that's the role of a control of the budget. Together, Alan, they basically oversee the implementation of the budget at both national and the county level together. So on controller of budget, this is basically provided, by Article 228. Article 228. So who nominates the control of the budget? So control of the budget, we understand, is nominated by the president. Are we together? Is nominated by the president. Approval is done by the National Assembly, then appointed by the president. So as a control of the budget, Article 228, we say that control of the budget is basically nominated by the president. Approval is done by the National Assembly. Then lastly, we say that approval is done by the National Assembly, then appointed by the president altogether. Then appointed by the president. Is that noted? Is that noted? We give it a yes. So who nominates the control of the budget? Is the president altogether. Approval is done by the parliament, and we say that once the approval has been done, is then appointed by the president altogether. So how long should this control of the budget hold office? How long should they hold office? How long should they hold office? So about 8 years altogether. But for the control of the budget, you must have knowledge of public auditing of public offices altogether. So it runs for a period of 8 years. But remember, a control of the budget must also have knowledge of auditing of public entities. Together, team. Audit of public entity. They should also have knowledge of auditing of public entity. So then we go to Auditor General. We go to the Auditor General. We go to the Auditor General. So Auditor General Article 229. So when you talk about Auditor General, we basically touch on Article 229 together. This creates what we call Auditor General Office. This is what creates what we call Auditors General Office. So this creates what we call Auditors General. Article 229 basically creates what we call the Auditors General Office. Together, team. Thus, Article 229 creates the Auditor General Office altogether. But again, the same thing. It is the president who nominates what we call the Auditor General. Approval is done by the National Assembly. Then appointment is done by the president altogether. Then appointment is done by the president. Together, team. So it's the president who nominates what we call the Auditor General. Approval is done by the parliament. Once approval has been done by the parliament, then the president appoints the Auditor General. Are we together? In terms of qualification, team, Natalie Shaida, Blessy Awiko Dangote, in terms of qualification, we understand that Auditor General should have what's called a 10-year knowledge in what's called public finance management. Are we together? And at the same time, they hold the office for a maximum of 8 years. They hold the office for a maximum of 5 years. So there's a question that came in 2023. You're being asked the accounts audited by Auditor General. We talk about accounts audited by what? By the Auditor General. Accounts that are normally audited by the Auditor General. So this question basically came in 2023. You ask accounts that are audited. So we have national and county. We just separate the national government. National government, that's one account that is audited. We have the county government. And this question was about 6 marks. County government. So we say all courts. Then we have all commissions established by the Constitution. All commissions. We say established by what? By the Constitution. Established by what's called the Constitution. All commissions that are established by the Constitution. Are we together? Senate, we have the Senate and County Assembly. Senate and County Assembly. We have the Senate and the County Assembly. We have the Senate and the County Assembly. Senate and the County Assembly. So we say political parties funded by the government. Political parties funded by the government. Then they can also audit what's called the public debt. Public debt. Did you know that there are political parties that are funded by the government? Bless you. Were we aware of that? The political parties that are funded by the government? Were we aware? Were we aware that there are political parties that are funded by the government? Yes. So this question basically, not only that are we together, we also have currently we also have the main, the political party that is in government that is also funded, but other even the wiper, they're funded by the government. So those accounts should be audited. When those money goes to those coffers, it's the role of the Auditor General basically to audit those accounts. And I say that if you look at 2023, this question was tested. About 4 to 6 months, they're asking you accounts audited by the Auditor General. Together, team. Are we together? So then we talk about on financial officers and institution. We talk about salaries and what's called remuneration, commission. We talk about salary and remuneration, remuneration commission. Salaries and remuneration commission. So this is basically created by Article 230. If you look at this, created by Article 230. Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC. Have you heard of the SRC? Have you heard of the SRC? Have you heard of SRC? Natalie Evans, have you heard of SRC? Perfect if you've added. So we have Salaries and Remuneration Commission, that is the SRC. That is Article 230. It's created by Article 230 together. So we need to understand that consists of a chairperson. Number one, it consists of what we call a chairperson. So the head of SRC is a chairperson. The head of SRC is a chairperson. And this chairperson, you say, is appointed by the president. The chairperson is basically appointed by the president. The SRC chairperson is appointed by the president. Then we talk about the composition. Briefly, we touch on the composition of SRC. Briefly, we touch on the composition. What do you call the composition of what do you call the SRC? We talk about composition. Who makes up the SRC? So we have said in terms of makeup, we are basically saying that at the end of it is we have the chairman altogether, or the chairperson, because it can be a woman or a man. We have the chairperson altogether. So the persons nominated, on the SRC, we have persons nominated from these bodies as part of composition. So we have persons nominated from Parliamentary Service Commission. Parliamentary Service Commission. We have Parliamentary Service Commission. Parliamentary Service Commission as one of the person who sits in the SRC. Parliamentary Service Commission. Then we have Public Service Commission. Public Service. We have the Public Service Commission. We have the Public Service Commission. Public Service Commission. We have the Public Service Commission. Then we have National Police Service Commission, a member from the National Police Service Commission. National Police Service Commission. We have the National Police Service Commission. So we have we also have National Service Teacher Service Commission. We have the teachers, a member from Teachers Service Commission nominated, Teacher Service Commission. But we can also talk about when, as part of the membership, we have what's called umbrella of group of employees, joint forum for professional bodies. Are we together? Joint forum for professional body. A person nominated by Cabinet Secretary of Finance should also be in that altogether. But this person that is nominated by Cabinet Secretary of Finance in the SRC, this person does not have a vote. It does not have a vote altogether. Are we together? So then we also have a person that is nominated by the Attorney General. And this person, again, who is nominated by the Attorney General does not have this person nominated. This person nominated, we say by the Attorney General, does also not have a vote. Does also not have a vote. This person also nominated by the Attorney General, we basically say that does not have a vote altogether. Does not have a vote altogether. So a person nominated by the Cabinet Secretary for Public Service, again, do not have a vote. They're just sitting up there, but they do not have a vote. Together, team. We respond with a yes. We respond with a yes. So then we talk about the functions of the commission, functions of SRC. We have it as functions of what we call the SRC. Functions of the SRC. Functions of the SRC. So what do you think Salaries and Remuneration Commission do? What is the work of SRC? If you ask in December 2020, in December 2025, what is the work of SRC? They set and review remuneration and benefit for state officers. They set and we call review remuneration for what we call for the state officers. So they set and review what we call remuneration for the state officers. So these job classes and remuneration, those are being added. It's done by the SRC. They set and review remuneration for public officers. So then they also advise government on remuneration and benefit of public advice. Government on what's called on remuneration and what they call benefits of what they call of the public officers. So they advise the government on that. Remuneration and benefits for the public officers are together. They advise the government on remuneration and benefits for the public officers. Tuko pamoja. So they set, but at the same time they advise the government on remuneration and benefit of the public officers. Tubonyeze yes tafadhali. Kama tuko pamoja. Tubonyeze yes tafadhali. But also very in line with these two things that the SRC in line with these two things, setting and reviewing, in line with the two things that the SRC does, in line with the two things that the SRC does, we must understand that in line with these two things that the SRC does, they must ensure I want you to remember this. They must ensure that the wage bill is sustainable. So the SRC must ensure that the wage bill is sustainable. Are we together? And at the same time, that wage bill helps to track and retain people with appropriate skill. Are we together? So in line with the two things, they must ensure that the wage bill is sustainable. Let them not just come with packages for state officers, but the government cannot afford those packages. They should ensure that these packages are sustainable, meaning the government may be able to afford those packages, but at the same time, those packages that are put, they can attract people with what's called the appropriate skills and recognize what we call productivity and performance together. Recognize what's called productivity and performance together. We respond with a yes. We respond with a yes. Tafadhali. Support Mwalimu by responding. So we have the Central Bank of Kenya, that is the CBK. Mwalimu can take a small breather, a small break of 10 minutes, then I get back. Together. So I want us to move to the CBK, that is the Central Bank of Kenya. We say that the CBK is basically established by Article 231, subsection 1. Everything will be okay. We must push it to the end and make sure that everything works. So it's established by Article 231, subsection 1. So the role of the CBK is basically to formulate monetary policies, promote price stability, and issue currency. So this is to formulate monetary policies, stabilizes what we call the prices, and issues what we call currencies. This is the role of CBK. That is the role of CBK. Together, that is the role of CBK. Is to do what? Formulate monetary policies, price stability, promote price stability, and issue of currency. So I want to talk about two things: role of Treasury, National Treasury, and County Treasury. Role of county, national, and county treasury. Call it role of national and what's called the county treasuries. Role of national treasury and county treasury. So as I delve into that, when you talk about the national treasury, the coverage is much wider than the county treasury. Are we together? So there's the national treasury and the county treasury. In terms of the roles are more or less the same. But when it comes to when it comes to the national treasury, the role is much wider than the county treasury. Together, the role is much wider than the county treasury. So we start with the national treasury. We start with the national treasury. Once we do 5, that will be enough. National treasury. You ask, what is the role of national treasury? What is the role of Ministry of Finance? So one of the first role is to formulate, implement, and monitor macroeconomic policy. Formulate. We have implement, macroeconomic policies. And these policies involve revenue and expenditure, involving revenue and expenditure. So the same point, if I was to use it for county, this is at the county level. If I'm talking involving what we call revenue and what we call the expenditure, involving what's called the revenue and expenditure, involving the revenue and expenditure. So then, as a second role of National Treasury, they manage the level and composition of public debt. Manage the level, what is the level of what and composition of what we call the public debt. The level and composition of what we call the public debt. So they manage what you call the level and what you call composition of what we call the public debt. They manage the level and composition of public debt. As we're going to discuss the last topic, that is public debt management, you realize that a treasury plays a bigger role. There's what you call the debt office, but treasury plays a big role in terms of public debt management altogether. But you also need to understand they also guarantee, national guarantee other financial obligation altogether. They also guarantee the county. Then we can also talk about mobilize domestic and external resources of financing. Mobilize. They do what? They mobilize. They mobilize domestic and external resources. Domestic, and what's called external. They mobilize external. They mobilize what's called domestic and external resources. Mobilize external and external resources for financing. National and what's called the county budget. So the Treasury mobilizes both what we call domestic and external resources to finance both the national and county budget, to finance both the national and what's called the county budget altogether. We also say they develop policy for establishment. They prepare annual division of revenue bill, prepare annual, we call it division of what we call revenue bill. Prepare annual division of revenue bill. That is division between the national and county government, and county allocation revenue bill. And county, call it county allocation revenue bill. And the county allocation revenue bill. So they prepare what's called the annual division of revenue bill, and at the same time the county allocation revenue bill. Together team. And then we have the last one. So we have the last one, 5 will be enough. We can talk about design and prescribe. Design and what called prescribe. Efficient, and we call it financial management. They basically design and prescribe what we call efficient financial management for national and county, together for national and county, or what they call for national and county. You say to ensure what they call the transparency. To ensure what's called the transparency. So they design and prescribe what's called efficient financial management for both national and county to ensure what's called transparency in financial management. So these are some of the roles of National Treasury. Together, 5 is enough. Took us our team. For those five should be enough. So then when I move to the county treasury, we call them, the head of treasury is the minister or cabinet secretary. We call it cabinet secretary of finance. Secretary of Finance. That is the head of National Treasury. And remember, KRA falls within the Treasury. When you talk about Kenya Revenue Authority, it falls within the Treasury. When you say that the head of the Treasury, that is National Treasury, that is the Cabinet Secretary of Finance. So then we have what's called County Treasury. County Treasury. So who heads the county treasury? Who heads the county treasury when it comes to county treasury? When you talk about county treasury, who heads the county treasury? CC of Finance. Perfect. CC of Finance. But remember, when it comes to county treasury, it was established pursuant to what we call Section 103 of what we call the Public Finance Management Act altogether. So the head of county treasury now becomes the CC of what we call finance. What is the meaning of CC, Jojo? CC Ramanisha, Chief Executive Officer of Finance. Look up, the same thing. Are we together? The same thing that is happening at the national, but they do it, the boundaries are limited to county. Like when you talk about the county, we have the CC, we have the chief officer, we have the chief officers in those ministries, we have Department of County responsible for financial and fiscal matters. Are we together? But then when you talk about developing and implementing financial and economic policy, so this is for the county, they do it for the county. Are we together? Formulate and implement, we'll talk about policy, but these policies are limited to the county. So the difference is that those policies are limited to the county altogether. So they coordinate and implement county budget. You can talk about coordinate and what you call implement, what you call the county budget. Coordinate and implement county budgets. This is one of the easiest questions, tafadhali, when it comes. Mobilize resources for funding budgetary requirement. Mobilize resources. We say for funding what we call the county budget. Mobilize resources basically to fund what's called the county budget. They mobilize the resources to fund county budget. They mobilize, coordinate, and implement the budget of county. So you can talk about coordinate and implement the budget of the county. We've talked about developing and implementing financial and economic, developing and implementing financial and economic policies of what we call of the counties. So they do what? They develop and implement financial and economic policies of the counties and executives. What the Treasury does, it does at the county level together. They also monitor county organs to ensure compliance altogether. So they also prepare county budgets. Are we together? But you can also talk about issue circular, what they call circulars, issues what you call the circulars with respect to financial matters, with respect what they call financial matters relating to what? To the county. The issue circulars with respect to financial matters relating to the county. Hapo iko sawa. County Treasury and the National Treasury. So I want to talk about briefly public financial management, that is the PFM Act. So overview of the PFM Act. Overview of what we call the PFM Act. Overview of what we call of the PFM Act. Overview of the PFM Act. So when did this act basically come in force? For those who are very keen. When did it come in force? That is, it was basically implemented in 2012. That's why we call it, the act was assented to by the president in 2012. That is why we call it the PFM Act of the PFM Act of the 2012 altogether. So what does the PFM Act do? Public Finance Management Act. A number of things that it does effective, we call it effective. We call it financial management. We call it effective financial management. We call it effective financial management. We also have effective financial management of public finances by national and county. Effective financial management by what we call the national and county. Then oversight responsibility. It provides for what we call oversight responsibility. So when you talk about oversight responsibility, this is basically the parliament and the county assembly. Basically the parliament and the county assembly. Then we have what we call different responsibility. What we call different responsibility. What we call different responsibility. Or what we call the difference responsibility team. Or what we call the difference responsibility. Or what we basically call the different responsibility. So we basically understand that government bodies are we together. That government bodies, government entities and other bodies are for connected purpose altogether. Are for connected purpose. So then I talk about objectives of the PFM. Objectives of what we call PFM. There are basically two things that the PFM Act basically do. Objectives of the PFM Act. So the objective of the PFM Act is basically to ensure a number of things together. Is to ensure that public finances are managed at both county and national levels according to the principles set out in the Constitution. So the first objective is that public finances are managed at both county and national government according to the principles that are set in the Constitution. And we did talk about principles of public finance management. Did you talk about those principles? Principles of public. When you talked about prudence, do you remember when you started? Principles of public finance management. So one of the first objectives is to ensure that public finances are basically managed at both county and at both counties and national government as per the principles of public finance management. As per the principles of public finance management. And the second objective is to make sure that those that are charged with the responsibility of managing finances are accountable altogether. Those that are charged with managing finances are basically accountable. Is to make sure that those that are charged with managing public finances are basically accountable. That those that are charged with managing public finances are basically accountable. Together, team. Those charged with managing public finances are accountable. So, number one, public finances managed at both county and national government are managed according to the principles of public finance management. We remember when we talk about prudence and executors, those are principles for public finance management. But you're saying that the second objective is basically to ensure that those that are charged with managing public finances are accountable. We don't just give them to any. These guys are accountable. So because of the strength that I've had today, I want us to meet tomorrow. I have strained a lot for today. I want us to meet tomorrow. I hope tomorrow you don't have any class. I want us to pick it. I will finish this and finish topic 3 tomorrow. So I want us to pick it tomorrow from 5 a.m. I have strained for the better part of the time. But we thank God we have done something. We have done something. So I think we are meeting tomorrow at 5. I want to get medicine and get better. Yes. So we can stop at that point. Tomorrow 5, make sure. It will be well. And Natalie, we must continue. So I'm finishing this very, very fast. That is tomorrow. Then I pick up topic 3. Topic 3 is very fast. Yes, it will be well, Jojo. We can't stop work because of those are nature of life. Yes, I'll get medicine and I'll be better tomorrow. Thank you so much. So God bless you. God bless you. And God bless our class. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up. Thank you so much. Asante. So we are finishing this and topic 3. So I'll only remain with 3 topics. On Saturday, I do 2 topics, then we remain with 1. By next week, Tuesday, we should be done. Yes. This public finance should be done and dusted by Tuesday next week. So thank you so much, and God bless you. God bless you, team. Tafadhali, God bless you. And